thought I was screaming.
Rough area. I might lose connection here for the next few minutes. So if you guys want to jump up and throw your hands up, if I lose connection, I apologize. Hopefully it'll come back in here. It's going to take me about 2 to 3 minutes to get through this spin I'm driving through. And after that, we should have no issues with the mic. So if you guys want, it's going to be open mic today. We're going to be talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination and the cover up and what our FBI and our government's involvement in this obviously is. So if you guys want to just throw your hands up, grab a mic. Sam Parker and May should be joining us here shortly. And then again, my buddy Mikey's going to be joining, or Ian's going to be joining us with some really interesting story about the pastor. He's got some inside information that I think everybody's going to want to hear. He should be here in about 15 minutes, I believe he said. So if you guys want to just throw your hands up, we'll go through some line of questions. We can kind of go over everything that we kind of, the story that our government's kind of started from the beginning is we never really understood anything about how, Tyler Robinson was a lone shooter on that roof. Nothing made sense. None of it was adding up to me. Everything from the story, from how he got onto the roof to how he was, allegedly got on campus at 8:30 in the morning. And then he did some type of recon. And then he walked over to some hidden area in the woods where he allegedly had this rifle hid. And then he grabbed the rifle, stuck it down his pants, and then changed outfits, and then came back walking to the campus with allegedly the rifle down his pants, because the man that we seen walking into the to this area the first time had maroon shirt on, he had shorts on, and he had shoes on. And then when he came back, he allegedly had long pants, long sleeve shirt, hat, glasses, and this completely different disguise. And that just didn't add up for us. And then somehow he was able to go, he walked across the campus, he walked under the bridge that connects the parking lot to the parking garage, and he went in the parking garage, and he disappeared for a few minutes, and he came back around on the outside of the parking garage, and then so magically got over to the side of the Low C building, where he then walked up a set of stairs, got under the roof. He was allegedly on the roof, I think, for 15 minutes. And ducked down, and then he sprinted over 1 minute before he took the shot, sprinted over to the edge of the roof, pulled out the rifle, took the shot, and then within 3 seconds of that shot being fired, I think it's actually sub 3 seconds of that shot being fired, he was in a full-on sprint, and then somehow magically jumped off the roof, then evaded being caught, being seen by anybody, jumped off the roof, went sprinting over to this wooded area, and then he allegedly ditched the rifle behind some lady's chicken coop, I guess. He didn't go back to this wooded area. It was behind some lady's chicken coop. So everything that the FBI has told us pretty much from the beginning has sounded like complete shit. And you got Sam Parker in here. Sam, you're going to be excited. I got buddy Ian's coming in to drop some alpha. He's got some inside information from somebody that was, I believe, at church with Pastor McCoy. And he knows them personally, and he's got some inside information that he wants to share, something about something's not sitting right. I was just talking a few minutes before we went live on the show, and he said, "You guys want me to come break this story on your space?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely. Sam will eat this up." So give me a few seconds. Let me pull Sam up here. I see you, brother. Sorry, I'm driving right now, so I'm trying to multitask and run a space and drive at the same time with my kids in the back. Probably not the best idea, but yeah, we got an open mic going on, so Sam should be coming up here in a second. I see some other people. If you guys want to ask some questions, feel free to jump on in here. Sam, did you get that request? Let me see if you can see that. Yeah, I sent it to you. So Sam should be coming up here in a second. There he is. What's up, Mr. Sam Parker, the legend himself? Man, I see your tweets are going viral all of a sudden. Everybody. Sam, I think Sam's done an equal amount as Blake Bednar's. If there's two people that have done an exceptional job at kind of uncovering and bringing these stories to the attention of the masses, it's Sam Parker, Blake Bednar's, Candace Owens, and then again, Sam's buddy that's doing the Google Trends over there. I always forget his name, but
that'd be Baron Coleman. That'd be Baron Coleman. And Ryan, I appreciate it. I'm just doing what I can, and I'm getting a lot of tips, a lot of help from people. This is a really big group effort, but I do appreciate that because I am putting a lot of time and effort into this. It's interesting you mentioned Baron Coleman and the Google Trend searches because we have massive breaking news on that front today as well. I'm preparing a video right now, which I'll post shortly, and I'll have the space boosted because we're not going to be able to watch it in the space. It's about 18 or 19 minutes long, but I'm just going to do a little teaser. I'm going to tease everybody. Baron and his chat, somebody in Baron's chat last night had the idea of looking at the Cayman Islands. And for all of you out there who don't know about the Cayman Islands, it's this little place in the Caribbean that's it's a haven for money laundering, tax sheltering, all sorts of stuff. It's notorious. It's notorious for, people having numbered accounts in the Cayman Islands, right? It's where they hide money, right? Make payments and launder funds and stuff. But and I want to emphasize. I have to emphasize this. We don't know what this means, and I'm not ascribing guilt to anybody. I'm just presenting the data, just like Barron's presenting the data. We're just going where the data leads us, right? Well, it turns out that somebody in the Cayman Islands was very interested in Mikey McCoy. Not Michael McCoy or Mike McCoy, but Mikey McCoy was being searched for it. I've identified at least 3 search results in the Cayman Islands for Mikey McCoy, twice in August and once on September 9th, the day before the assassination. Okay? Don't know what it means. Might mean nothing. Not ascribing guilt over it, but that is the data. Now, that Barron did that search yesterday in his stream, and so that gave me the idea of, well, if Mikey McCoy is showing up in Cayman Islands searches, what about other people? So Ryan, I went through and I made a list of just like a bunch of people off the top of my head of the cast of characters in this assassination story. And almost everybody shows up in Cayman Island searches. But you know who doesn't show up in any Cayman Island searches? Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, both of them, neither of them show up in any Cayman Island searches. And Candace Owens is very famous. So is Charlie Kirk. They're both very famous people. They don't show up in any Cayman Island searches. But I'm going to tease this, and then I'll get this posted. But Mikey McCoy does. Deidre Amaro does. Phil Lyman does. The ponytail photographer, Charles McClintock Wilson, he does. Tyler Robinson does. George Hodson Zinn does. The entire defense team for Tyler Robinson does. Part of Charlie's security staff does. Not all of it. Some of it. The judge, Tony Graff, shows up in it. Robert Bowles, the FBI agent, shows up in it. Like, it is a shocking amount of people from the cast of characters who show up in Google searches from the Cayman Islands this summer. A shocking number.
Let me add to that too, Sam. So why people use the Cayman Islands and also countries like Andorra, I was just actually getting ready to make a documentary on it, so that's how I know this. So these are specific regions that have literally embedded and engraved into their constitution that by law, they are not legally allowed to share personal banking information with anybody. Like in Andorra, all you got was actually like an account number. You didn't even have to give your name. And it was illegal for anybody to share any outside information. And if they shared it, just because, I forget what the reason was, if they shared it for just to share it, it was like in prison, it was 5 years in prison. And if they shared it because they were being paid, like somebody paid them off and bribed them and paid them to share that information, it was 10 years in prison. And that was like embedded into their constitution. So that's why people use these specific areas to hide money. Not just to hide money. I mean, if you're a wealthy individual and you made $100 million, you don't want all 100 million sitting in America, where our government with a swipe of a pen can just steal all your money. So not everybody's a criminal there that wants to hide money. It's just anybody with a brain would want to, basically, if you get a certain amount of wealth, you want to hide it so that when the government decides to come after you, they can't take it all. Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers being a big example of, how the government will just come for you and try to take everything from you, and you'd be left with nothing, no way to fight for your case. So yeah, I'll just land it there. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just sort of know its reputation. So I'm glad you were able to provide that insight. But I'm telling you, I'll give you another teaser. Deidre Amaro, the medical examiner, and Tyler Robinson, the same day. They're searched from the Cayman Islands on the same day, July 23rd. I'll give you another teaser. Brylan Hollyhand, this guy who came out of nowhere, being promoted by Ben Shapiro after the assassination, also searched from the Cayman Islands on September 9th. Same day that Mikey McCoy searched from the Cayman Islands, September 9th. Listen, I don't know what it all means. I do not know what it means. I'm not saying anybody's guilty or that any of these people know anything. I'm not saying that. But this is another really fascinating data point, Ryan, in this story that just keeps getting bigger. And we've seen the videos now. People are combing through. They're getting these videos of Mikey McCoy, who, the latest video I shared this morning was shared by another user yesterday. And I think Blake was sharing. Blake got some good video of this too. We can piece together through various video angles now that Mikey McCoy, in the very, very moment that Charlie is shot, and again, I say shot for ease, I am not completely debunking or disbelieving or saying that everybody's wrong, that there might be some sort of explosive device involved. I'm not sold on that. I'm not certain that the footage shows that, but I haven't personally ruled it out. I'm simply saying shot just for ease of narrative here. So don't misunderstand me. I'm using shot for ease of narrative. So in the very moment that Charlie Kirk is shot, in that very moment, Mikey McCoy's immediate instant reaction is to bring his left hand up over his left ear, and with his phone in his right hand, brings that up to his right ear. And he turns and walks away in an instant. It's like boom, shot, hand, phone, turn, walk away. Like faster than that. And he doesn't even have his gaze on Charlie for even a full second. For even a full second, he doesn't see anything, right? So he doesn't see he's already gone by the time Charlie's like falling out of his chair, blood squirting everywhere, right? He's already gone. He doesn't even see any of that. Shot, hand, phone, walk away. Boom. That fast. That's his reaction. Everybody else, most of the crowd, if you look from some of the photographs and video, a lot of the crowd hasn't even like reacted and understand what's going on yet. And Mikey's already on the phone walking away. And in the footage from these different angles, you cannot see him make a call, like, go to make a motion, like to dial a call or make a call, or to answer a call, to receive a call. The phone is already in his hand, and he simply brings it up to his ear, and he's turning and walking away. And then we see him walking away on the other side of the tent. His hand is still up over his ear. His phone hand is still up over his ear. We see him off in the distance walking away, phone hand still over his ear. So he's on the phone. So my question, what looks crazy here is that this phone call was already in progress. It was already connected. That's the only thing I can make. That's the sense I can make of it is he's putting one hand up, his right hand up over his ear to block out noise so that he can hear what's in the phone that he's brought up over his left ear. But he has not made any motion to receive a call or to make a call. So I'm forced to conclude that there must have been already a call active. The call already must have been active. And as soon as that shot rings out, he brings this active call up over his ear and he's walking away, listening or talking to whoever's on the other end of that line. I don't know what it means. But it's really mysterious and bizarre, right? And we've all seen the video now, I hope, right? He's been shadowing Charlie all day. He's Charlie's Swiss Army knife. He's the amazing Mikey McCoy, according to Erica Kirk. But in that moment, the moment that Charlie is shot, he doesn't even spend a whole second looking at him, taking it in, discerning what's happening, what's going on. The shot rings out. He immediately brings the phone to his ear and he's turning and walking away. It's immediate. It's instant. Like he hasn't even taken 2 seconds to absorb what's going on. Most of the crowd hasn't absorbed what's going on. Half of Charlie's security staff hasn't started reacting yet. And they're still diving towards Charlie and trying to lower him down and stop the bleeding while he's already off the other side of the tent, walking away. He has no idea what's going on. No idea what's going on behind him. Who takes a call at that moment? What are the odds? Like, who does that? What's going on there? I don't know, but we need answers. And I am demanding answers of Mikey McCoy. I am. I want to know. What's going on there, Mikey? I do. I want to know. Because it looks really suspicious. But I'm not accusing him of anything. There could be a good reason. There could be an explanation. But I'd like to hear that explanation because it makes no sense. People say, well, maybe he was just a coward. Maybe he was in shock. And I'm like, in shock over what? He was turned and walked away before Charlie's falling out of his chair bleeding everywhere. Like, what's he in shock about? Where's the shock? He's not running. Everybody else you see from the video footage, people are running past him and ducking behind, the big poles, the big supports, under that overhang. People are ducking behind there. They're running. They're crouching down. Not him. He's just sauntering off with the phone in his ear. So he's not diving for cover. Like other people panic, they go for cover. Other people panic, they ran. Right? Other people panicked and ran to Charlie. They reacted to go to Charlie in concern or panic or whatever. Now, Mikey McCoy, he brings the phone up to his ear and walks off. And Charlie's right there next to him. And people are saying, well, maybe he's calling somebody to let him know what's going on. I'm like, What's he telling them? He doesn't know what's going on. He literally turned away before, like, he knows what's going on. If he turned away, Charlie was still sitting in his chair. So what's he reporting? That he heard a sound? He heard a gunshot? And a bunch of people jumped, and then he's on. Like, what's he reporting? What arrangements is he making over the phone at this point? He doesn't know if Charlie's alive or dead. I'm not even sure if he knows Charlie was hit, because everybody kind of jumped at the gunshot. Charlie jumps, and his body jerks because he gets hit. But everybody else, like, jumps and is startled as well. So, like, how does he know Charlie's even been hit? How does he know that Charlie just didn't jump like everybody else did? So what's going on here? So I don't find any of the explanations other people are coming up with persuasive. Well, he was in shock. He doesn't look shocked. He doesn't react in a shocked manner like everybody else does. What's he traumatized by? He didn't stick around long enough to see any of the trauma. Well, maybe he's on the phone telling somebody about what happened, informing them. Well, he didn't stick around long enough to know what's happening. Maybe he was trained to walk away if there was a gunshot. Nobody else, the security staff didn't walk away. They rushed to Charlie, or they were on guard. Some of them, so I don't find any of the explanations persuasive, especially since this guy's like, Mr. attached at the hip to Charlie all morning. And in the moment of Charlie's greatest need, in the moment of danger, in the moment of desperation, he's walking off with the phone in his hand. Well, Charlie's, falling over and leaking blood out of his neck. Mikey's already walking away. It's just strange. It's bizarre. I don't have an explanation for it, but I want to hear Mikey's explanation. I don't know that we're going to get one, but I'd like to hear one. Like I said, there could be a good explanation. There could be a good reason. There could be, I don't know. There could be something. I don't know. But I think we deserve to know. We deserve to know what's going on there, because it looks suspicious. And listen, the reason it's going viral is because, like, everybody sees that it looks suspicious, right? Everybody agrees that it looks suspicious. But I think most people would be fair-minded if there were a good explanation. But instead, what we're told is that he's amazing. He was coordinating with everybody. He was getting flights for Kirk. He was talking to the doctors, Frank Turek, Erica. They're both talking him up, telling him how he did all these wonderful things the day of. And I'm like, well, I guess that was after he abandoned Charlie and walked away on his phone. I guess that was all after that. Then at some point he gets back involved when he's done with his phone call, I guess, whatever that was. Then he gets back involved. But then he would have to be like, okay, well, what ended up happening? We had to try to stop the bleeding and pick Charlie up and take him to the SVU. He didn't see any of that. He wasn't around for any of that. So I guess he had to get caught up before he could go tell the doctors what happened, right? Because he didn't know what happened. He had to have somebody else tell him what happened, even though he was standing right there at the tent. One of the closest people to Charlie, right there the whole morning. The very, very instant that shot rings out, phone up, gone. Sorry, Mikey. Calling it how I see it. But anyway, so that's my analysis today. Be watching for this video. It's rendering right now. And so as soon as that's done, I'll get it posted and I'll inform the space and I'll ask everybody in the space to, interact with it, leave a comment, like it, retweet it, so we can get it out there. But it's really strange. Like, a lot of these people, they were searched, they were subject of Google searches in this summer.
No, everything's not a conspiracy theory. Some things are just conspiracies. Look up the definition.
Time window from Washington, D.C. and from Israel. And people, Ryan, have been saying, well, what if somebody used a VPN to, search from Israel? Make it look suspicious, like make it look like Israel did it or something, or maybe I just used a VPN. That's why Israel's coming up. And I'm like, well, okay.
Almost none of these people that you hear speaking in the space are leftists, Guido.
Okay, let's think through that. Now we have a lot of these people showing up in Israel searches, Washington, D.C. searches, and Cayman Island searches. Probably some maybe on the same day or in tight groupings. Are you telling me that whoever somebody is using a VPN, they just decided to select, maybe today I'll use Cayman Islands, and tomorrow I'll use Israel, and next day maybe I'll use Washington, D.C., and I'll just kind of randomly circulate around those three places? I mean, I don't know.
That's the argument all y'all come up with. You're racist. You're anti-Semite. Okay. I'm racist and I'm an anti-Semite. Now what? Now refute the fucking argument.
It doesn't make any sense to me, though. It doesn't make any sense to me that these people are showing up in these unique places, these weird, interesting, unique places. Many of them not showing up in Utah searches, though, by the way. Not Utah searches, but Israel, Washington, D.C., and Cayman Island searches. That's fascinating. That's interesting. I don't know what it means, not ascribing any guilt. But I think that this blows the whole idea that these searches were just randomly from somebody's VPN on accident. I think we can maybe eliminate that at this point. I don't find that could still be possible, but I don't think it's the most likely explanation at this point. If we're going to use Occam's razor, that's no longer the most likely explanation. I think that's the less likely explanation. I think the more likely explanation is these searches are happening from these places. So, you know, and I will also say, if somebody's trying to frame Israel or what.
Samuel can't freaking argue the points that we're discussing because he doesn't have any. He's just gonna call you a hurty word. He's gonna call you a racist and an anti-Semite.
Ever, I'm like, who's trying to frame Israel? Because as I survey the battlefield, the battle space, nobody in the media is trying to frame Israel. Nobody in this administration is trying to frame Israel. Nobody of any consequence is trying to frame Israel. I mean, even Candace Owens, who's investigating this, says, look, I'm not accusing Israel of carrying this out. She's just illustrating interesting ties, you know, and that Charlie was leaving the pros were cause. But she has been very clear that she's not accusing Israel of having carried this out. So as I look around and survey the battlefield, I don't see anybody trying to frame Israel. TP.
I don't give a crap about Iran. I don't care about any of the same people. I want them to look out for themselves and for Americans to look out for themselves. And you know, if we can work together, cool. If not, cool. I don't give a shit.
USA is not. Nobody inside of TPUSA. In fact, everybody is monolithically on the side of, it was this crazy, kooky Tyler Robinson and his furry friends. That is the narrative. Everybody's going with it. So I'm like, okay, if there was this mastermind genius plot to frame Israel, who's carrying it out? Because I don't see it. I don't see anybody.
Does anybody in this room want foreign nations to have control over our nation? Bro, I mean, nobody wants their nation being controlled by another nation. It's not allowed anywhere except Western white nations.
Like, you know, trying to press that case. Now, here's what else is interesting. If there is a conspiracy and a cover-up, which I think there is, and I think we have voluminous evidence for that, I think we're forced to conclude Israel's involved for many reasons we've covered in these spaces many times. You know, we know Charlie was leaving the pro-Israel cause, and we know there was rocky relationships for months before that, and many of the other things I've gone into at great length in this space. But I want people to consider something. Let's say Israel is not involved. Charlie Kirk was their guy. He was their guy, right? He was their guy. And he was their conduit to the youth of America, high schoolers and college kids. He was one of the most powerful voices at times for Zionism, trying to convince Americans and American Christians especially and college kids to support Israel. Let's say they weren't.
The government shut down and Trump's still in the White House stumping with Indians lighting cow poop in the damn White House. What freaking sense does that make, performing pagan rituals in our freaking house? This is bullshit.
Involved, and this is a cover-up conspiracy by somebody else, perhaps the CIA or the federal government or some other element, some other rogue radical element. Don't you think these Jews and Zionists, who clearly have so much power and influence over our government and media, would be moving heaven and earth to get to the bottom of who killed their friend, their guy, Charlie Kirk? Wouldn't they want to get to the bottom of it? But no, instead we see the Jewish Hasbara, pro-Zionist, pro-Israel accounts on Twitter and in the media could not be less interested in calling this a cover-up. Could not be less interested in that framing. They're lower loomer. Charlie Kirk was killed by this radical, kooky, you know, leftist Tyler Robinson. Everybody knows it. Why are we still talking about it? Right? There is zero curiosity from Israel and the Jewish lobby to get to the bottom of this conspiracy cover-up. So I am forced to conclude that if there is a conspiracy cover-up, which I think there is, I can't tell you 100%, but I'm pretty sure, then I must be forced to conclude that Israel's also involved. Because they are not lifting one finger. First of all, they're benefiting from this. They've been using this to benefit their narrative campaign ever since the assassination. So they've been deriving great benefit from it, and they've been exploiting it to great benefit. And they are not lifting one pinky finger trying to using their influence or power to get to the bottom of this conspiracy. So I'm forced to conclude that they must also be involved. That's what I'm forced to conclude. Go ahead, Rand.
My buddy Ian, he goes by, I always say his name, Wednedster, if I'm saying that right. Ian, you can jump up here and grab a mic, my man. Ian's got some breaking news.
Hey, if y'all could do me a favor and hit the like button, I really appreciate that. I want to get this information out to many people as I can.
That he wanted to share with everything.
Let's hear it.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, Ian.
It's I Wenster. So the D is silent. My last name is Went, like where'd I go? It's my freaking football nickname, and I ended up making it my handle, and then it is what it is. So that's it's I Wenster. But no, what's up, everybody? I'm kind of.
Hold on, Ian, before you jump into this, let me. I don't know if you guys have not seen this man's work, but if you haven't, you definitely swing over to his profile. He has been absolutely crushing it, especially on the Charlie Kirk assassination. Not just the he reminds me of a new up and coming Ian Carroll style of creator. His work is absolutely fantastic. If you're not following this guy, give this man a follow. What you got?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I appreciate the shout out. Dude, that's crazy. You compared me to Ian Carroll. Ian's a good friend of mine, and that guy's, I thought I was good at researching and deep diving. That guy's freaking unmatched. But I have had some insiders at Turning Point, and I know that when I say that, people are like automatically like, oh, great, another anonymous source or whatever. And you can believe me or not, whatever. Fact of the matter is that I am very much not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. I consider myself much more of like a independent constitutionalist. I think both parties are freaking effed, and I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have in this country in the first place. I'm all about patriotism over loyalism, and I think that's what the party has created is loyalism. But that being said, the reason I say that is because I was able to form relationships in Turning Point the couple times I did decide to support them, because for the longest time I did not want to support it, specifically because I knew how
Hey, y'all try to keep the comments. Don't get my channel kicked off, please. Let's don't get too crazy in the comments, please.
intertwined the Zionist agenda was with Turning Point. And on top of that, the whole golden Trumps and freaking worshiping Trump thing, I couldn't stomach it. But I'll be honest, when I saw Charlie start to really, I think all of us could tell, all of us that have been following him long enough could tell that he started to realize what was going on. He started to ask the right questions. He started to, it seemed like he was really he knew what was going on, but he was just kind of towing the line for a long time. And I saw that. And when I saw that, and then combined with, his effort to actually have the crucial and hard conversations across the aisle with these kids at these campuses, I gained a tremendous amount of respect for him. And so I decided to be an ambassador for a couple of the events, and my company even did a sponsorship for one of them. That being said, when I was there, I made a lot of connections, and I got pretty close to a lot of the people in Turning Point, specifically the ones that weren't super bought into the whole, MAGA thing. And they were more just about what I stood for, which is just freedom and nonpartisan patriotism. And so we stayed tight even after the events. And sure enough, after this happened, I made a live stream about 2 months before, I think it was 2 months, whenever the Dave Smith and Josh Hammer debate was. That was my very first live stream on my YouTube. And I didn't predict his death, but I predicted that something might happen to Charlie because of the fact that he platformed Dave Smith. I said, the fact that he did that, he's got stones, and it'll be really interesting to see if something happens to him, right? Sure enough, something did. And so a lot of those people at Turning Point have followed me pretty religiously, and a lot of them reached out and were like, yo, there's definitely something going on here. All of us know it. We can't say anything. We're all gagged. But all of us are trying to figure it out, and we're grateful for Candace, and we're grateful for people that are actually speaking out. And so they started feeding me stuff. And you can go see some of that on my page. All of that's in my videos that I've already put up there. But I recently got another one because of everything that's going around about Mikey McCoy. And I thought it was really, really interesting. So here's a text message that I got from one of my insiders there that I thought was really interesting. Listen to this. It says, as a follower of Christ, I never want to speak negatively about someone who appears to be leading others to the gospel. But Rob McCoy never sat right with me. Keep in mind, by the way, this is somebody who was close to them, very close to them at pretty much all these events and all these different speaking engagements and wherever Rob was. There was always an off-putting feeling I couldn't quite explain. What really shocked me is realizing that Mikey is his son. I never made that connection. So they're around him all the time, but they didn't make that connection and then realized it after the fact, not even while working with the organization. It was a total wow moment for me. And now seeing how Mikey reacted after Charlie Kirk was shot, I can't help but wonder if they knew something, or I hate to even say it, if there might be some level of involvement. This is the second time, though, that somebody's pointed something out about Rob. And if you guys remember, so I'm also about to put a video out about this, just so you know. I was working on it before I got on here, but I wasn't able to finish it. But follow me, and I'll post it up so you guys can actually see these texts and, verify it and everything. But if you remember, Rob McCoy got on I don't know what it was, some interview or podcast or something. It was like the 17th, I think, or maybe the 18th. So like a week after Charlie Kirk was shot. And before the text thread dropped from Candace Owens. So this was before that text thread and about a week after his assassination. Rob gets on and basically says that Charlie was still super pro-Israel. One of his desires was that they would go do a mission in Israel, that he understood that the Jews were God's chosen people, and yada, 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 yada. Just basically goes on with all the talking points, right? And it's like, okay, well, so either you're lying, because he was in that text thread with Candace Owens. And so why would you then go on a podcast and say the exact opposite of what he was thinking and where his mind was? Because he clearly was not in that mind space. So either you're lying or you're saying this for your own benefit and you've talked yourself into the fact that he didn't think what he thought. I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, but at the end of the day, it's very, very fishy. And I myself didn't make that connection either, that Rob's Mikey's dad. And when you go and listen to some of their interviews now, like you can go listen to some of the interviews on YouTube that they've done. They did one with Frank Turek, and it's just so weird. It all seems so scripted, and it very much seems like they are replacing Charlie with Mikey. Like they're pushing Mikey in. Another thing is, on one of those interviews, it's really, really interesting. They bring up the fact that 2028's ticket could be Vance Kirk. I thought that was super interesting. Because you've heard rumors about people saying, Erica Kirk could be the next president or vice president or whatever. And they literally bring it up in that interview. And I think all of us can agree that things are just really, really weird right now with this whole thing. I think Sam was just speaking, and I believe that's what Sam was saying, is just like, it doesn't make any sense. None of us really know exactly what's going on, but I think all of us can agree that all signs point to there being a much bigger agenda here. And I just thought that was really interesting. There's more text too that I got. This was another one that was sent to me about Rob. Growing up in the church and seeing it firsthand, always felt like he avoided addressing hard issues. His messages to the congregation always seemed very cookie cutter and carefully crafted. He spoke a lot about prosperity preaching. In other words, blessing those who give tithes, right? Which, sure, that's a true thing, but apparently he spoke about it quite a bit. And so on many, many occasions, Rob was speaking about the donors. He was speaking to the donors. And, that's just a really interesting piece of information, considering the text thread and considering that the whole reason Charlie was going to abandon the Israel cause, I mean, we know there's probably more reasons than this, but the one, according to him, was the donors were putting so much pressure on him to, cancel Tucker and Candace and everything. So anyway, just really interesting to consider all that. And I think there's so much information around all of this right now that all of us are trying to piece it together. But one thing's for sure, it's definitely not what they're telling us. And I think, just like Sam said, for me, all signs point to Israel. I don't see it any other way, because this combined with the fake letter to Bibi, which, by the way, I have, that was another thing that I got a bunch of texts from these people in Turning Point saying, there's no way that letter is real. That's not how Charlie talks. It was totally scripted. We got emails and texts from him all the time, and he was very to the point. He never beat around the bush. One of them even texted me and said it was so unlike him. It would be so unlike him to say that what he said about his family in that letter. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but they said it was totally off. It didn't seem like Charlie at all. And then you have Bibi Netanyahu, of course, saying, yeah, this is real. And he was all about Israel and basically trying to use his death and make him a martyr for Israel, right? But even just considering the simple fact that Charlie Kirk was without a doubt one of the most influential people of our time, but more so the most influential person when it came to the younger generations, when it came to college and then high school. I mean, they're opening thousands of high school chapters. And so then when you consider this Hasbara propaganda campaign that's been going on since the creation of Israel, basically, but more so the 80s, right? You have to understand that there's zero chance that these people are going to allow these younger generations to not be propagandized like their parents and their grandparents. There's zero chance that they're going to allow somebody to have that much influence on them to the point where they're not able to garner the same amount of support for their criminal and evil acts and their goal of greater Israel. There's just no, like, based on everything they've done in the past, there's no chance that they would allow that to happen. And so all of that combined with the information that we now have and all the inconsistencies about the assassination in general, yeah, I don't see how people can't come to that same conclusion and say they freaking took him out. And they took him out because he was dangerous to everything they're doing. Because it's also coincidentally at the same time, think about this, it's coincidentally at the exact same time when they have had to Hasbara explain their actions more than ever before on the world stage to everyone because of the power of social media and because of the pushback that they're getting. So while they're going through the hardest obstacle when it comes to their PR campaign in history, in the history of their conflict, right? Now they have somebody who truly has the ability to actually influence generations to abandon the Israel cause. And so, you know, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on Hasbara. How in the world are they going to allow this guy to completely abandon the cause and push, you know, who knows how many students and how many younger kids and the younger generation to abandon it as well? That to me is just, it just makes sense. It just falls in line, you know. But guys, if you've been following me for any amount of time, I'm just a conspiracy theorist, you know.
Well, Kash Patel would call you an anarchist, Ian. You're an anarchist.
Yeah.
And you're trying to ruin this case.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. I mean, dude, hey, but here's the cool thing, guys.
Hey, do you think that if they're, you know, the FBI is just not going to look into somebody if they sense there's a conspiracy, or do you think there's other bad people involved in this assassination that they wouldn't go after him? That's what Kash Patel said, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you think we wouldn't? I'm like, dude, that's what I think.
Well, I was just going to say, hey, just consider this fact, guys. Shouldn't we be so grateful to our FBI? They've done such a good job. Now we know that basketball players are gambling and fixing games. Like that's amazing, right? We don't know who ran or who was trafficking kids and underage women to, you know, elites for decades in the largest freaking human trafficking blackmail operation in the history of mankind. But we do know that there's basketball players that are fixing games through gambling. So like right?
And football coaches or basketball coaches who from the NCAA that were breaking NCAA rules.
Yeah. Bread and circuses.
Yeah.
The literal definition of bread and circuses. And it's only going to get worse, guys. I mean, they're literally going to have a UFC fight on the White House front lawn. You got to see that for what it is, okay? I may not be everybody's cup of tea because I challenge everything. And to be honest, I can't stand this administration right now. It's driving me insane because I voted for him. I did. And I think like a lot of other people, I'm not only disappointed, but I'm pissed because it's completely against what I voted for. And Now you're going to have a massive UFC event on the White House front lawn. Like, it's legitimately bread and circuses. Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt.
Do me a favor, everybody. Please like, please like the stream, and help get the information out there. It doesn't take much out of you to do that. I appreciate it.
Right? And that's what's going on. People are far more concerned with who's going to fight on the White House front lawn than they are to uncovering the greatest crimes in human history and being, aware of the fact that the largest AI surveillance system is about to be in place that we've ever seen. Like,
no, so true. I wanted to go back to something you said and probe it just a little bit for the audience about how Charlie, was leaving the pro-Israel cause. And, and I've made this case for weeks now that even if he hadn't been leaving the cause as such, even if he was still going to continue being a champion for Zionism and Jews and Israel and all this, then it kind of didn't matter, because what he was also doing is he was making it okay for the youth, as you're pointing out, to question it, and not only to question it, but to not be pro-Israel. He was making it okay. He was saying, okay, you don't have to be pro-Israel, and he was even basically, you can participate in BDS and not like Israel and not support Israel. And you know what? You can still be a good Christian. You can still be a good American and America first and be a member of TPUSA in good standing.
Yep.
Even with those positions. And so, the organization is already over 250,000 active members. I believe somewhere around 400 to 600,000 lifetime members currently, with over 3,000 chapters at the high school and college level. And that was set to grow into the millions, perhaps over the next 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years. And you're going to tell me he's making it explicitly okay to be America first, to put American interests before Israel's, to be against Israel, to not like Israel, to not support Israel, to support the BDS movement, to say that Israel's blackmailing our politicians and that we should cut off funding and have AIPAC registered under FARA. He was making all of these positions okay. You can be a member in good standing in TPUSA with these positions. And so now it doesn't matter that Charlie's going to be a champion for Israel, because maybe hundreds of thousands of youth aren't going to be champions for Israel. And that's okay. Because they'll be part of TPUSA.
Well, and even, I'll add something else to that too. I mean, at the end of the day, Charlie actually stood, and this is one of the reasons why I actually ended up respecting him quite a bit leading up to his death, is because he actually stood for free speech. He actually understood the importance of free speech, and he stood for it. And to be quite frank, Zionists do not believe in free speech. They believe in everything. They believe in speech until it's quote unquote anti-Semitic, until you criticize their actions. And
hey guys, if y'all don't know, I stream these spaces to just to get the information out. This is not me on this channel doing the space. This is Ryan Matta's space that he did yesterday, I believe, on Charlie Kirk, the update for getting just trying to keep the investigation alive. We want this information getting out here, and I'm just trying to help them spread their information. You can go subscribe to Ryan on X. I think he's on Rumble too, but a lot of people just don't know about these X spaces, so there you go.
So there's no chance that they were going to allow that to happen. And to go even further, this is kind of I hate to bring this up because it's kind of the freaking ultimate black pill, but as we watch all these influencers that have been clearly tapped for this massive Hasbara campaign, right? And I'm not, I do think that when people are calling all these people out in the comments of $7,000, I think that's low-hanging fruit, because the truth is I don't think all these people are paid with money. But I think far more of them are paid in different ways. I mean, you have the Emily Saves Americas and Cam Higbees and Xaviers of the world that I don't think they are getting any money. I think that they literally are just that stupid and that vain that they're willing to do it for the party invites and the credentials and the news anchor positions on Fox News, which that's already happened. They literally got back from their trip to Israel, and now they're anchors on the news. They have campus tours. One of them got the key to the city. Like, just all this dumb stuff that nobody really cares about except for them, because they're so insecure and vain. And they're just, I feel like the Zionists are just tapping into that. But that being said, all of these people that are so loud about the pro-Israel cause and continue to post, like Officer Tatum, for example, over and over and over and over. Every single time they post, you can go look at their comments on every platform. They get absolutely wrecked. And it's like, why would you continue to do this over and over and over and over, knowing that you're literally destroying your entire base, right? Because that's what these people care about. And the only thing I can come up with is either they are going to get a bag and bounce and it's not going to matter, or they're baiting all of the people that are any and all opposition to this greater Israel Zionist movement that is growing.
No, it's not Mikey McCoy speaking. This is Ian right here speaking. Ian whatever. You can see his at right there and everything. That's who's speaking right now.
So rapidly in this cancer that is taking over our country, that they're baiting all of those people into making those comments, so that when they do launch this AI surveillance system that is largely owned and operated by pro-Zionists, it's going to be that much easier to locate, target, and censor, and or more, all of these people in one fell swoop. And that's a scary thought. But now if you consider where Charlie was going, Charlie would have been one of the people that would have stood up against that all day. And he would have garnered support from every single, all of the younger generation to stand up against it as well. And they can't have that.
No, Mikey has not spoken on this space. It's the video you're watching is from Sam Parker. You can see his at right there as you're watching the video. He's just pointing out a very odd reaction that Mikey, his best friend, and what is it, his personnel manager or whatever, he just, right after he gets shot, he just picks up his phone and walks away like nothing happened. Did I lose audio on the...
No, excellent analysis, Ian. Yeah, it's the more you think about it, the more you turn it over, the more you analyze it. It just, especially in the context, we know if we go back 2 full years to Jonathan Greenblatt and the leaked ADL call meeting, where they were basically apoplectic, saying that we've completely lost the youth. We have a TikTok problem, right? And Jonathan Greenblatt called upon the Jewish geniuses, intelligentsia out there to figure out how to solve the problem and get the youth back, right? And because they'd already 2 years ago they'd already lost youth. They'd already seen that they lost youth, and over the last 2 years they've only lost them more. They've only lost them more over the last 2 years since Israel's been committing this wild genocide for the last 2 years. Everybody's been seeing it flooding across social media. They've been seeing the censorship flooding, across these platforms. And so 2 years ago, they saw this as an existential crisis. If they saw this as an existential crisis 2 years ago, how do you think they see it now, right? And
exactly.
And during those 2 years, did Charlie Kirk and all his best efforts to preserve people's support for Israel was failing? He was losing the youth. Despite his best efforts, he was not recapturing the youth. Like, it was getting worse. They were losing even more.
Well, and
his best efforts.
I think that's one of the things that actually woke Charlie up to everything. I mean, one thing that you can definitely say about Charlie is the reason why he was so effective, the reason why he was so actually influential with these kids, is because he actually cared. Like, he was one of the few people that you could tell legitimately listened more than he talked. And that is a major quality in a leader, and somebody who is able to actually influence and move and create movements. And so I think that he straight up listened to them, and I think after a while he finally heard it, and he was like, maybe there's more to this, you know? And I
I don't do this for money, retard. I don't even get paid, bro. What are you talking about?
really do. I think that's part of what actually woke him up was the fact that he realized I'm not convincing these kids of anything, and you know, I'm not convincing myself either at this point, right?
No, absolutely. He pivoted. 100%. And so he went from being like, I hesitate to use this word, Ben, we use it in its technical sense, useless. He was useless to Israel. In dictionary definition, useless meaning of no use, of not delivering on the proposition, right? He was, for Israel and his Jewish backers, his job was to steer the youth of America towards supporting Israel. And he was not successfully doing that. And so
he was a threat.
Yes, he was. Well, he started out being like sort of neutral, useless, right? Because he's not delivering that. But then he recognized that he wasn't delivering. So he pivoted, right? And to a new strategy. And that we see that new strategy was leading towards not supporting Israel at all.
Yep.
And he was making it okay to question Israel, object to Israel, oppose Israel, and still be part of TPUSA, the most powerful, largest, biggest, most influential, or independent organization of its kind in America, right? Yep. And we should also note that it wasn't just the Israeli lobby that he was departing from and growing sort of independent from. He was also growing independent and distant from the Republican Party and the conservative movement, because the Republican Party, you know, Charlie's out there talking about total immigration moratorium. That is diametrically opposed to the mainstream Republican platform right now. He wanted to end these foreign wars and de-escalate Iran and Russia, Ukraine, right? These neocon wars. That's not the Republican Party position, right? So he was also promoting. He was actually starting to promote a proto-white nationalism. He was already promoting Christian identity and Christian nationalism, and he was starting to, you know, transform his talking points into what I call proto-white nationalism. Also, decidedly not part of the Republican Party platform.
Well,
go ahead.
Going back to that debate, I mean, if you actually go back and rewatch that debate between Josh and Dave, there's a point at the end where, and this is really what kind of triggered the idea for me that, like, okay, this is crazy. Something's going to happen to this guy, because he gets them both to agree unanimously that we need to stop funding Israel on the main stage in front of all these kids at this Turning Point event. He literally gets them to come to an agreement, and he states it over and over. He's like, okay, so we are agreeing that one thing we need to make sure we can do, regardless of how long it takes, whether that's sooner or later, we need to get to the point where we are no longer funding Israel. Like, he says those exact words. And that's after he allows Dave to go off about the secret nuclear program and, you know, getting us into the Iraq-Afghanistan war and all these other talking points that are clearly detrimental to the obvious propaganda campaign.
No, and Ian, we should note that TPUSA appearance, that whole thing happened around.
Yeah, that was just some random video that popped up like you're scrolling through your video feed or whatever. I don't know what the fuck that shit was. That's funny.
July, 11th through the 13th?
It was right before the searches.
Yeah, and exactly. And we have a lot. There's this window. Now, the searches are happening in June. They're happening in August and early September as well. But there is this window, like July 14th through the end of July. And you could even say up until like the end of the Hamptons meeting, in this like 2 to 3 week window where there is a massive surge in these searches, right? Right after that. So some people have interpreted that this is, there's different ways to interpret this. I myself think that this assassination has been in the works for months, maybe over a year. Okay. Because it took a lot of jockeying, a lot of maneuvering, a lot of planning. But I think that after that TPUSA event and Charlie's retrenchment on this issue, that's when the die was cast. That's when the die was cast, and it's like, okay, go time, and they're making all the final arrangements. That's sort of how I interpret it. That's how some people think. Well, they decided to assassinate him after that. I think that decision had already been made, or the planning was already in process, because this was a complicated operation. I think it took longer than a few weeks or a month or two to put this together.
Yeah, those are valid. Those are valid points.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there was this surge, right? Like you said, there was this big surge in the search results after that TPUSA event. And we saw how Josh Hammer reacted to it. Remember how Josh Hammer pulls out like Dave's posts, and he's like, "I'm disgusted. I even have to be on the stage with this guy." Right?
Yep.
Like they weren't happy about it, but they were already. But what I'm submitting, and I think what you're submitting is they were already not happy with Charlie even before that event.
Yeah. It was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And then what followed after that, the Megyn Kelly appearance, the show that he did I believe he did a show on the 15th or 16th of the Charlie Kirk show where he laid out the 10-step, the 10 item list of what we needed to demand from the DOJ as far as the Epstein files go. He laid out the exact plan that we should all be demanding from them, and a lot of it had to do with putting the Trump administration on, putting the freaking face to the fire. And he was doing a lot of things that clearly was not in line with their agenda. I mean, there's just no question about it.
You know what else is ironic, Ian, if I may? The Israeli lobby spent the last 2 years eradicating anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism from college campuses. This was going back to the Jonathan Greenblatt leaked conversation. He's like, we've got to figure out how to get the youth back. And they immediately launched this campaign to get rid of all of these Ivy League presidents who were allowing anti-Israel protests on college campuses. They got rid of 3 of them, right? Then they got laws passed enshrining anti-Semitism protections on college campuses. You can be expelled, you can be suspended, you might not be able to get a job. They're going to have these campus monitors, all these things, right, to monitor against anti-Semitism. They got all that passed. Then they also, the Trump administration was withholding funding, for, hundreds of millions of dollars from these institutions. And because organized opposition to Israel comes from the left, especially recently. Traditionally and recently, organized opposition has come from the left. All of these massive protests that we saw over the last 2 years, these were all organized by people on the left, not by people on the right. So they, for the last 2 years, have been systematically trying to eradicate anti-Zionism and anti-Israel sentiment from college campuses. And here comes Charlie Kirk in 2025, replatforming what they've just spent the last 2 years trying to eradicate from the left. And now Charlie's bringing it in and making it okay to hold these same positions on the right.
And
it's
I think that
a Trojan horse for this that they tried to eliminate.
Well, and I think it's really interesting you use that term Trojan horse because, if you really consider who are the people that kind of obviously you have the people that have been.
E4, you shut up. You know what? I used to be part of the E4 mafia before I got my stripes, and you're making us look bad. Come on, bro. Chill the fuck out.
Saying this stuff forever. You have the Nick Fuentes. You have those people that have been on this train for a very long time, long before this, these last couple of years. But if you consider who the figures are that really started to go hard at this, that weren't, just on the left or far left or whatever, it was a lot of comedians, man. It was, you got Joe Rogan, you got Theo Vaughn, you got Dave Smith. Comedy is the Trojan horse to truth because you can almost get away with saying anything you want without any backlash. At least that's how it has been. And I tip my hat to those people. But the other thing that you have to consider is I think they overplayed their hand. I don't think they realized that there was going to be, because let's be honest, what has actually happened is there's been kind of a little bit of a unification of both sides.
Thank you, Stephen.
And, even though the right and the left...
I call that the horseshoe, by the way. I call that the horseshoe, the right and left coming together over opposition to Israel. The Epstein files, not wanting to go to war with Iran and wanting to cut off funding to Israel. These are existential. See, the Zionist war with Iran, that's existential. AIPAC and funding to Israel, that's existential. Epstein files and blackmail of our politicians and influencers, that might be existential too. And the right and the left were both coming to agreement on these 3 issues together. Well, and also I'm throwing a fourth, the right, they're getting tired of Gaza and this war going on and our funds going to that, right? So I would say maybe even 4 things. There's that horseshoe forming between the left and the right.
Well, and the left, if you consider the left, right, what the left is usually very, with Ukraine, for example, right? The left was all about Ukraine. the reason why is because the left is obviously going to be motivated a lot more by emotion and by virtue signaling. And so Ukraine was kind of like low-hanging fruit for a virtue signal, which is why I feel like a lot of those people did that. The difference was Ukraine wasn't committing a genocide and ethnically cleansing an entire people. And so it didn't go against all, it didn't create an even higher level of needed virtue for the left, unlike the war in Gaza. And so what happened with the left is you have them they're now abandoning the idea that they're going to be all about this global community and supporting these other countries. You actually turn the left a little bit more of an America first sentiment. And that is why I feel like there's been a unification. I feel like the left and the right has actually come together a little bit on this idea of true America first. Because the left is just as sick and tired of not being able to afford gas and groceries as the right is. That's just a reality. And they're sick and tired of funding wars that we have no business being a part of. And they're sick and tired of like...
Quick public service announcement. If y'all don't know about the Ethnic American Project, ethnicamerican.org, we're trying to wake people up to their heritage. People don't know about this. If you're an ethnic American, a free white person of good moral character as set forth in the Naturalization Act of 1790, 1795, 1798, and held through even 1923. That was just a short 100 years ago, okay, where they upheld all that. You can go there and educate yourself on your history. All right, back to the program at hand.
We agree on these things in a big way. And then with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you also had this mass awakening, I feel like, on the left of, wait a second, the people in my party, the people on my team are like celebrating the death of another human. That's not me, right? I may disagree with all these people.
Yeah, Donald Trump seems like he's trading out and selling out the American people to me at this point. I'm sorry, but I voted for him, and I was all MAGA, and all that shit. I campaigned for him and everything, but I think he's selling out to Israel. I think he's selling out to Qatar. He's giving them a freaking air base on U.S. soil, for God's sakes. Oh, and and they just happen to give him a $40 million or $400 million plane or whatever. Get the fuck out of here. He's a sellout.
In a major way, but I'm not going to celebrate the death of someone. And so it created even more of a divide and allowed the pendulum, I feel like, to swing a little bit back, back closer to the middle.
Absolutely.
But that's why it's so dangerous.
100%. That's a great. That there was not just horseshoe on.
And hey, Sam, hold on, let me jump in here for a second because it's supposed to be open mic day today, and I know we got like 1,000 hands, and
All right. Well,
I've
I just
been
want
giving
to
the
draw everybody's
platform
attention
just to Sam.
Right.
Can you hear me?
Really quick.
I know. I just want to tell everybody. I just want to tell everybody.
The nest.
No, I'm not cutting you off, Sam. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm just telling everybody.
And I'm gonna mute my mic, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay a little bit longer. I'm gonna stay over the 6 hour after 6 for about another half hour, 45 minutes, so that way I can get to these hands. But about right after they finish up this conversation, we'll jump over to those open hands because I know everybody's been coming here for this.
Right. It's just some big stuff broke today, right? So just had to be covered. But everybody, I just tweeted that Cayman Islands video up into the nest. I put that up in the nest. Please, if you could, go leave a comment and a like and a retweet on that or a bookmark right now, especially a comment. So it's a big video. It's not going to get a lot of traction. So the more people that comment on it and like it and interact with it, the better. Like, you're not going to be able to watch it now, but go interact with it now to send it off into the algorithm. Then we have an interesting video by Kelly Rabin up there where she's talking about the amazing Mikey McCoy. It's a clever little video. Go check that out. And then we have another video up there by Proteus 5. We're going to get to him. We're going to get to Proteus here shortly with the hands.
Who the hell's the American enemy that I'm simping for? Bitch, I'm all American. I'm for ethnic Americans. I literally do this shit all day long. Hold spaces and educate our people about this stuff. I'm a part of this project right here for Americans, bro. This is it. This is all I'm about, is waking our people up. Shut the fuck up, E4.
And I'll throw it back to you, Ryan, to do the management of the hands and the speakers now. But everybody, go interact with that stuff up in the nest. retweet the space. Let's get this material circulating, please.
Let's do it. Let's go jump over to, and I want to give a big shout out to Ian and Sam, man. Thank you guys so much, man. You guys have been doing such relentless work on this, and it's so refreshing to hear from everybody. You know, I really do. I really appreciate this conversation. I would have totally let it keep going because I was totally into the entire conversation. I just know that everybody's been begging to get a mic, and we've done it the last 4 days, and I haven't got a chance to get it, listen to anybody speak. So let's start with Protheseus, and then we'll go to James Wells. And then if you guys are up here on the stage, please put up your hands too if you want to talk. So we got a lot of people. I got like 20 people trying to request right now. So if you don't have your hand up, we're just going to cycle you back down. Okay, go ahead, Protheseus.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ian, Malcolm. It's an honor to be here with you. Lies in the News, Truth in Film. Snake Eyes, 1998. I found out about this film, oh boy, I don't know, a couple of weeks after the Charlie Kirk incident. And I could not believe all the parallels. And I put a screen capture of Wikipedia. I went to Wikipedia to find out if they noticed the similarities. I'll just quickly read this. Following the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
I just want to say this is a public forum, okay? And the when people are talking here, let me turn on the camera so you can see my face. When people are talking in these public forums, I don't have any control over what they're saying, bro. This is literally like being out in public in a round table and having a conversation with a bunch of people. All right, you can't control what they say. I don't agree with everything that they say. And, you know, it is what it is, bro. This is free speech. I try to listen to all views to sharpen my own viewpoint. Okay, if you got a problem with it, you don't got to watch, bro. Kick rocks. I don't give a shit. I'm trying to get the truth out there because, and I don't care if it hurts your little feelings. Okay, I don't give a shit. You can call me a racist, a white supremacist, a anti-Semite, a homophobe, Islamophobe, whatever you want to fucking call me. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Your hurty words don't bother us no more. Americans are tired of this shit. White people are tired of being a minority and treated like we're second-class citizens in our own fucking countries. Fuck that shit. We're done with it.
In 2025, social media users perceive parallels between the real-life assassination of Kirk and that of the fictional Charles Kirkland. Now, I'm not going to go on much more. I say Tyler Robinson versus the film's boxer and assassin Lincoln Tyler. The comparisons went viral on social media. Some users alleging, quote, predictive programming. No shit. But it chalks it up to what? Confirmation bias, poor estimations of likelihoods. I don't think it's an accident. So there's another film, Rock and Rolla. So I went to DeepSeek and I decided to test it. I said, the most valuable rock and rolla is a ... And it answers, the most valuable rock and rolla is a retired one. That's
Have y'all ever asked yourselves why every other race can be proud of their own race? Like if somebody goes Black Pride and goes, yeah, and they sing their own national anthem at our NFL games, right? They do that, right? And that's cool. I don't give a shit. I agree with them. I think they're their own people and they should be proud of that. And I cheer them on and say, yeah. And Mexicans do that shit and Chinese people do that shit and everybody else does it. But when a white man does it, they go, oh my God, a Nazi. It's so fake and gay. It's a double standard and it's bullshit. White people got to look out for white people and black people should be looking out for black people and so on and so forth. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that.
So let me tell you what that film, if you haven't seen it, the line is a dead one. Now, I guess I can say it's theory, speculating. It sounds to me like they had known in advance exactly what was going to go down. It's like a best before date. They might do it with rock stars too. They figure, well, how much more has this guy got? Okay, what are we going to do? Well, if we take them out, we'll make a lot more sense. They'll become legends. They died young.
And FYI, it is not about hate of any. I don't hate anybody. I just want to be around my own people because I think they're the coolest. Just like black people think that they're the coolest, and Mexican people think that they're the coolest. Bro, everybody's like that. Get the fuck out of here.
Record sales go through the roof when rock and rollers die. Guy Ritchie said so. The most valuable rock and roll is a dead one. So the TP USA, they got more momentum now than before. So it seems to have worked. It's just an observation. I had to put that on the table. Thank you very much for the opportunity to table that.
Thanks, Curtis. That's a wonderful observation. Wonderful observation.
Thanks, brother. Greatly appreciate you. Let's go to Saint. Saint, how do I say that? Hilaire?
Yeah, Saint Hilaire. All right, you guys were going over, I don't know if you can still hear me. I'm swapping over right now to Truth Social. You guys were going over things as far as like things that link to Israel and everything else. I like to stick with fact and, you know, what people know. I don't know if you guys know it, but over on Truth Social, General Mike Flynn made a post. I'm going to read it real quick. It's only going to take a second. It's a lot more to it, but I screenshotted the important part. I did reply to this thread with a picture of it. So General Flynn says, if it is determined that a foreign power assassinated...
We all bleed the same color. Well, so do animals, bro. So do animals bleed red too. It doesn't make sense. I care more about my child dying than my neighbor's child dying. But my neighbor's child dying still upsets me. I care more about my neighbor's child dying than some dude in Minneapolis child dying. But it still upsets me. When a child in China dies, I don't have any effect of it. It sucks. But I'm not getting out and going and making them dinner and shit. It's stupid. It's so asinine to think that you're supposed to take the whole world under you can't do it. You run out. Humans are finite, bro.
Charlie Kirk, or was behind his assassination, there should be hell to pay. It is now being reported by the FBI that this is a possibility. That is the first paragraph. He goes on to say that they should tell us everything they know and everything else, but that is very key to your little map that you guys got going on as to things that point to foreign interests. Not necessarily Israel, but when somebody with a high level of clearance that was in General Flynn's position actually puts out a post like that, it should not be ignored. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, brother. Greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. Let's jump over to who we got up here next. It was James Wells.
James, are you gonna come up? What the fuck, James?
James, can you hear us?
James, can you hear us? We got a ton of people, so if you guys have spoken, said your piece too, I'm going to cycle you guys down. It's nothing personal. We just got a ton of people to get through, so I want to give everybody a chance to speak. So, James, speak now or forever hold your peace, my friend. James. Going once, going twice. Let's go to Michelle. Or no, sorry. My friend Sue was the next one up. She had been waiting for a very long time. My friend Sue, how are you?
Hey, guys. How are you? Thank you for the mic and wanted to thank you guys. What I love on this space is you all you respect each other, all the guys that run the different spaces, and you've been all working together on this. So thank you so much. I wanted to just share this with everyone. I sent it to Ryan. I sent it to Sam. A lot of basically all you guys that run spaces. There's a gentleman, Kevin Annette. He has been after the Vatican for many, many years. And what happened is there's the International Criminal and Common Law Court. Now, the United States has backed out years ago and chose not to acknowledge their rulings. However, I think you'll find this amazing. First of all, what they had their final court date on September 8th. I've tried to put the court documents, I've tried to put their transcripts, I've tried to put everything on X. Every time I do, it immediately is shut down and I'm back in jail. So after I tell you this, if you want it, we'll figure out a way to get it to you. But basically the Ninth Circle is a terrible group that's got all of the oligarchs and the elites running this whole show. And what they said was that they actually, now they've all been indicted, 13 members. Donald Trump is in there, CEO of Pfizer, so on and so forth. But what the bottom line to the whole court documents is 2 of the defendants came forward and they were trying to indict them on child trafficking, and they did. However, what the 2 defendants that came forward, one is Donald Trump's former bodyguard, Keith Schiller, and P.S., he's also been the chief of police in Manhattan for many years, and Gary Patterson, one of the Canada Church rulers. And what they showed is they had to come before the judges on September 8th with their final evidence. These 2 that came forward with additional evidence evidence, Donald Trump's bodyguard and the church leader, basically gave their evidence. And what they had to do was, before the judges, they had to actually give evidence of all of their allegations. The judges found that the evidence is truthful. And now it's just a matter of dealing, of arresting them, but the United States necessarily doesn't have to follow it. What they actually alleged is that Donald Trump is involved in the Charlie Kirk murder, because, now mind you, they had to prove evidence. So this is, you can read all the court documents. I'm trying to really just talk fast. They're alleging that Donald Trump is involved, and it has to do stemming from Virginia Dufresne and all that she knew, and apparently he's involved in this whole thing. Charlie, coincidentally, was very close to Donald Trump, knew of many of his sins, and including the most recent stuff that came forward. What came forward was, in the basement of the Vatican, there's a book, and in that book, they document every time they bring people in. So what they'll do is, for example, Albert Barula, the CEO Pfizer, they drug them, they're all partying because, they think they put their pants on differently than the rest of us, and they're having their elite parties. They bring them to the basement of the Vatican, where then they make them and force them to participate in literal child sacrifice, rape of these babies and children. So they then have their documentation in that book. Well, now the court's got the book. On top of it, they have the pictures and video evidence. And so it implicated all of them, and it implicated every church in the United States, the main branches. So the Vatican, the Mormon Church in Utah, which is tied to Charlie, and not Charlie's pastor, but the people that Charlie knew in the Mormon Church. And it all ties in. The Catholic Church, Mormon Church, all of the different major church factions. And what they were saying was that at the behest of China, these churches are then forced to funnel the child trafficking and money. The child trafficking is about blackmailing all of our leadership. That's why both sides are not voting to release any of this Epstein stuff, which is also tied into this. So Charlie was having a change of conscience. However, in Kevin Annette's video, he was also having a change in his feelings toward Donald Trump and all that was going on. I can't listen. I voted for them, and this whole thing is devastating. But they're trying to filter the money. So it's the BRICS Alliance, China, the Vatican, the royal family. They're all in on it, as we already know from what we've been living through for the past bunch of years. However, they're alleging that Charlie was going to possibly be involved in this. So you'll see in the court documents, it's all there. Everything that you could not even imagine, raping and eating of babies and all of this stuff that you can't imagine. The people that we know were not involved, they are involved. All of them. It's so disgusting. So now the courts indicted them, which our country doesn't have to honor. However, at the end of the day, I do want to point this out. I've been in the medical field my whole career. For the last 15 years of my career, I taught surgeons how to do surgery. I sold the robot. I brought it to the United States. So I've traveled the world. I know all the top surgeons. And here's the thing. I could do some of these surgeries upside down, blindfolded. And what I will tell you is this. When the first thing I noticed when we got the original videos of Charlie, it's like sometimes I think we're missing something. We're being misled by all of these people. They're happy to put us on these wild goose chases, fight with each other, turn us all against each other. But here's the thing. I will tell you this. He got shot in the neck, apparently. If that were true, what came out of his neck would have not come out in clots. It came out in chunks and clots. That is not a thing. The carotid arteries in the arterial system, especially up by the neck, it is impossible to clot that blood because the velocity inside the arterial system, unlike the venous system, is so high that what happens is it's like a car doing 78 or 80 on the highway compared to now shrink your arteries, and that's how high the velocity is. If I have seen many, many, many neck wounds, because I used to go from the ICU and do some overtime in the ER for many years, that blood will come out with a force that you've never seen. It would have literally squirted way into the audience with a speed that you've never seen. I've seen grafts pop off the carotids and the aorta in open heart surgery where I work. That initial shot with that initial video that we all got, That was not a carotid gunshot. I will literally go on a stand in a court of law. I am right. The surgeons I work with are right. Everybody knows that that is not that. So going back to basics, that, and the other thing that's bothering me terribly, I started researching into Erica. What I did was I've been working with trying to save the children for a very long time. And what I've spent the last, 6-8 months on is studying what the MK Ultra survivors look like. And I know this may sound like all over the place, but it's all connected. Erica Kirk does the exact same thing symptomatically as the MK Ultra persons that you watch in police interviews where their other personalities come forward. There is no doubt in my mind that she's MK Ultra and Mossad, no doubt. So having said this entire crazy story, it's all connected, but I think they're all working together. It's not just Israel. And sadly, I voted for Trump, but you can't, the evidence is the evidence. I tried to send this website 1,000,000 times with all of these documents, and I've never seen anything be shut down so fast. I don't know how to get it further to you guys, but they had to present the evidence. So it's all there. And what she does is it's so apparent. If you do an assessment of this woman, when she speaks, what she does is literally to the letter what I've seen the kids that were rescued and put through their police interrogation videos. The eyes go the same way when they're trying to retrieve information. I can show it to anybody that is interested. DM me, I'll send you my cell phone and I'll show it to you right on the video. It is plain as day. So all the bizarre things she's doing, right down to the way she dresses, right down to her little girl having the seeing eye on her little white sneakers. Everything about this story is disgusting. But I think that they want us to focus. Everything they try to stick in our face always turns out to be a lie. So the fact that we keep running with this Israel thing, I'm not saying it's not it, because it sure as heck looks like it, but just bear in mind, you got to look at these court documents before you make your decisions, because I think he was betrayed by a very large, there was a lot of people in this group that betrayed him, right down, and I believe I absolutely believe it's his wife, because that is not her. If you go back and look at her old videos when she used to be interviewed, and the last thing I'll tell you is when I was researching her, right before my eyes, I found her birth record on Ancestry site from Romania. The minute I was looking at it, I hit the screen record and took screenshots and pictures. It disappeared before my eyes and never came back. And I have the video, I have the pictures, I put that on next as well, it disappeared. So there's something, and I don't have a big platform, so this is something that it's got to be close to the target. I've sent it to Kansas, I've sent it to Ryan, I've sent it to you guys, but the Ryan and Sam and the rest of you that I'm DMing, that disappears. It won't go through. So I don't know if there's a better way to get this to you, but you have to see this. You can't deny the evidence, and they're all involved, and somehow Charlie knew it. That part, I don't have the absolute evidence of that part yet, but she was born in Romania. And just like the rest of the Illuminati, the birth parents did not raise her. I'm literally in search right now of her adoption record, because once I find the adoption record, then she checks every box that the rest of them check. Not raised by your parents, immediately sacrificed. Either you were killed or you were kept for your gifts. She's from that bloodline. She fits. She literally checks every box. But more importantly, watch her speak. It's not. You could see, and if you look up the MK Ultra symptoms, she fits it. Sorry for blabbing. I was just trying to get this information out there in hopes that people will at least take a look at it. And unlike everyone else, we all want to be wrong. This stuff is really disgusting. But this time, this is really bad. You would not believe the people involved. So I hope that maybe this helps us all, because we need justice for Charlie, for sure. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Sue. Who do we got next, Ryan? Should we go to Destiny? Destiny, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, Michelle. It was Mr. Yo. No, go to Michelle, then Mr. Yo, then Travis, then Destiny.
All right. I'm way out of turn here.
Hi, thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ryan. Guys, incredible work you guys are doing. It's hard to believe. The new video Sam shared today, mind blowing. I've spoken about this once publicly and was contacted by a friend who lives in Israel who said, you've got to tell Sam, you've got to tell Ryan, you got to get the nerve to say it one more time. So last time I spoke, Ian Malcolm might remember, I started getting some really weird phone calls after I spoke about this live on a Twitter space. Ian kind of helped calm me down about it, but it was a little scary. And Mays would remember my visit to Israel. Long story short, visited Israel 2 weeks prior to October 7th. I left 3 days prior to October 7th to visit the Great Pyramids, hired a private security firm, was taken from the pyramids to a
McGruff, yes. You should go follow me on X and let me know it's you, and I'll follow you back. Where's my hand? Oh. This is my profile on X. McGruff, you sound like the type of dude that needs to be in our spaces.
To a hotel. While we were at that hotel, there were maybe 55, 60 of us. We weren't allowed to leave. So finally, I figured out something was really strange. We weren't really scheduled to go to this hotel. So I went to the tour guide and said, what's up? This is a last minute change of plans. Now everybody's acting weird. We've been here for hours. What's going on? And she said, something's going on in Israel. And I said, how do you know? And she said, my husband works for a private security. Something's getting ready to go on or just went on in Israel, and it's really bad. Nobody in Egypt is going to let us leave. They're double checking your passports. It was horrifying. It was horrifying. There were 25 men with huge guns around, and nobody would let us move or speak to us. Subsequently, I've been told that BB has disavowed that and said that that wasn't true. Well, I'm telling you, I was there when they were telling us it was being reported. So I don't know why he's saying it isn't true. But fast forward, I went back to Israel, left just hours before October 7th, came home. Again, fast forward to keep this short. I met Charlie Kirk the end of May, 1st of June. While I was there, he signed I had one of the big giant MAGA hats, and he signed it and got to talk for a few minutes. But the gentleman that was standing 2 people from my left asked him what keeps him up at night. And there were 2 girls that were just really loud talking, so I couldn't hear everything specifically, but they were talking about October 7th. And the gentleman said, Charlie, dude, I believe everything you've been saying except this stuff. There's no way you're not concerned. And he said, would you please be honest with us? Is that something that keeps you up at night? And Charlie started to walk away, turned around, and said, yes, the stand down order does keep me up at night. And I heard that with my own ears, and that was just weeks before all of this. So sometimes I'm hearing on X that people are saying it was too little too late. I think you are right, Sam. I think whatever was going on has been in the works for months, because I know specifically that months before he was discussing this publicly, and he wasn't even afraid to say it, which surprised me. Second to last thing, while I was at Charlie's event, there was zero security. There's one, which maybe you guys want to look into this. There's one famous black rapper, I guess, that goes to all of his events. He stopped going, I guess, 2 events ago, or 2 events prior to Charlie's incident. And he was very close to him. I don't know what the whole backstory was on that. Everyone at the event that I was at knew who he was, and it's kind of interesting. I do have videos of the time I was there, and it does look different as to what you're seeing now. I know, Sam, recently you mentioned some of the people in position at every event. No, they definitely were not. But I had a giant MAGA hat. Again, this was before we knew everything we knew now, so I was Team Trump at the time. And my bag was humongous. If you know how big those huge hats are, you know how big that bag had to be. So I was standing there, and Charlie loved my hat, so he came up to me, and there was a security officer. And after I talked to Charlie, I looked at the security officer and I said, dude, how are you not concerned about my bag? I'm so concerned for his safety that you guys weren't even concerned about my bag. No one's looked in it. We didn't have tickets. There weren't ambulances. I have a video of the crowd. There were Antifa with signs that had pictures of Charlie's face with X's in it. So at this event, they're calling for his death, but yet zero security. So my friend that lives in a kibbutz in Israel has said, Michelle, this just doesn't make any sense. How did they know? How are they saying in the last few months they're so concerned for their safety, but yet, just weeks before, there literally was zero security. Didn't check tickets, didn't check bag. Anyway. fast forward to the last part. I was invited to my old church recently, and my friend said, Michelle, you need to come. I don't know what's up, but there's a Jewish rabbi coming to our church. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, he's coming straight from Israel. You got to come. Like, this is crazy. So I went, and I walked in this church. I've not been for a few months again, because last year's just like, Judeo-Christian stuff has really been raping my brain in the last 6 months. So I haven't been in a little while, but I walked in, and there's a giant mural of Israel, of Jerusalem, in the front, in the foyer. And I said, wow, when did they put this up? And they said, this just arrived. They just put it up a couple weeks ago. The rabbi spoke. As he spoke, the pastor said, before we get started, I just need you to know, like, you can't even imagine how it feels to be in the presence of the chosen one. And everybody started like singing songs in Hebrew, and just, it was just wild. So, end of this, I'm almost done, Destiny. I got to ask questions. They had a Q&A time. And at the end, I said, Rabbi, I just have one concern. Everybody's really praising you and praising everything tonight. I said, I just have a general question. Are you at all concerned about the response time? On October 7th, I said, I was there. I saw 10 armed men every 10 feet. I mean, 4 to 5 hours. It doesn't make any sense. And I said, please be honest with this. Are you concerned? And he said, yeah, I'm really concerned. And I said, okay, well, thank you for your honesty. After the thing was over, I started to leave, and he came up and he hugged me, and he said, we got to get rid of BB. And I said, okay, well, thank you for your honesty. And he said, please encourage your friends not to hold this against all of us. Many of us have concerns, but we don't have the power, if we still live in Israel, to speak out. And I said, okay, well, thank you for sharing that. Last thing, his wife said, Michelle, do you understand that the IDF, I think his name's Gallant, Ryan, you probably know, the IDF minister was fired by BB, and supposedly, this friend that just told me I needed to tell you guys this, you need to look into that court case, because in the past week, a lot has come out with what Gallant is saying BB's involvement was with October 7th, with the stand down. I don't know what that looks like, but they're saying that there is some public record that's kind of available now for people who will dig far enough. But supposedly, again, IDF Minister Gallant is speaking about this, and if you'll investigate it, there's more there to be found. So thank you again. Sorry for so long, speaking so long, but thanks for all your work, and gosh, for all the education you've given us.
Thank you, Michelle. God bless you. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for coming up. Let's go to Mr. Yo, and then we'll jump over to Travis, and then jump over to Destiny.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone for having me on this panel. Everyone who wants to listen to my words, take it for what it is. We have all been misled. We're all people who are children of God. We all understand that we are not here for what we think we're here for, but we have a higher calling. When people speak and they say things that are just not congruent with what we know as reality, we have to be able to call it out. We understand that they have a moral compass that tells them that what they're saying must be correct. But when we look at the history and the current facts on the ground, we are all compelled to the same set of facts. We are dealing with a situation where an American citizen was most likely assassinated by a foreign government on American soil. These are acts of war, according to some people in our society, that I tend to agree with. But even if I wanted to take a different standpoint on it, I have to look at what we're dealing with currently. What we're dealing with currently is that we're being subjugated to propaganda that is trying to force us to believe a certain thing and a certain set of facts. And yet we're all standing here in solidarity saying that we don't believe those certain set of facts. I've watched many videos from Sam. God bless you, sir. I've watched many videos from Ian. God bless you, sir. And Ryan, I've watched many videos that you have posted, and I am going to say, God bless you, sir, because you are standing up against what the propaganda is trying to force us to believe is fact. When we have our own eyes, our own ears, and by the way, a pretty damn good internet connection, where we can say, hey, this doesn't look like what you're saying it looks like. So we're forced to ask ourselves, do we believe what we're seeing or believe what we're told? And the young lady who just came...
They have DEI degrees, Guido. Sorry to break your little heart, but DEI degrees are freaking useless, and it's just freaking a bunch of government bureaucratic jobs that we don't need.
I have no ill will against you. Let me just say this in my personal point of view. I was born in a little city called Middletown, Ohio. I was raised in a big city called Los Angeles, California. I have watched this propaganda be forced down my throat all my life. I am, even though the picture doesn't say it, I'm a black guy. I am what everyone calls African American and some people call other negative words that I don't even recognize anymore because it doesn't affect me anymore. I am that. I never really believed what Charlie Kirk was saying was the gospel until Charlie Kirk started realizing that he was being lied to. And then he started saying, hey, this shit don't make sense. How can all these things all point back to the same people and to the same person? The young lady, Virginia Gerford, say her name properly, please excuse me.
Rubber banding a little bit. Also, land your plane. We got a lot of people backed up want to talk. Finish making your point, please. And Ryan, if you need me to take over, I will. If you need to go, I keep the space active and I'll keep it going. But finish your thought, and then we're going to move on.
Thank you. Ehud Barak was the person she was talking about. And we are in a position where there are people who are controlling our country, and we don't want to recognize it. I'll land it there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. It looks like we lost Destiny. Destiny, if you want to come back, we'll try to get you in. Who was next? Go ahead. Jump in.
I just wanted to take a moment. Looking forward, even if we can definitively point the finger at who did it, whoever it is, the fight won't be over. Really, we'll just start it. Primarily because we can't just trust that just because we figure out who did it, that everybody's going to automatically do the right thing. So I think we need to figure out a way to get this in the mainstream. Right now, they won't even criticize the investigation because they don't want people thinking about it, questioning it, or looking into it. So what you all do here is priceless. But even if we put all of Candace's, Sam's, Ryan's, and even Tucker's followers together in a country of 340 million, it's still not even close to majority. But that being said, we're still an army of people, millions strong, all with many different talents, and not all of them is investigating. So my challenge to everybody would be is to think of ways that we can get this into the mainstream without, even if they censor it, mainstream media blackouts with algorithms. How can we get this in front of the majority of people?
Here, I'll give you, I'll just interject. I'll tell you something you can do. You can send tweets to people through your family. People are in friends and family and school chat groups like on Signal and Telegram, WhatsApp, regular texting, Facebook. Just send the material to people. Listen, I've been getting texts from people like, oh, hey, look, you're in so-and-so's TikTok video. Check it out. A friend send this to me. I've been getting texts like that. People are sharing this information, and not just mine. Information shared by Ryan and Blake and many other people, and Candace, right? So one thing you can do is if you're in chat groups and you find like really compelling stuff on Twitter here, just dump it into your chat group, share it with people, so that regular people, we can just use snail mail, if you will. We can, just to use a metaphor, like we can just use the tools that we have to just share these to our groups in a social networking capacity, right?
And I think I brought this up, but I think you commented on my thread, and I think I brought it up Wednesday with Ryan. But I'm running billboards in Orem and
that's you. That's
Arizona.
You. Yes, I did ask. Is there if there's a way for people to be able to contribute to that if they want? If there's a way you can be sort of transparent about and receive funds from people?
So yeah, I can post an update. I mean, I think I've spent a few $100s at this point, but I can post updates of that. But also anybody can do it. I mean, all it takes is $5 to $10, and you can be running billboards at a place where you're choosing. Really, the only caveat is getting it approved, but it's up to each individual billboard owner. So there is no monopoly on Zionist propaganda from that standpoint. So, and you can't censor it. It's out in the open for anybody that's driving down with the car.
You know what would be really interesting, and this, I don't have these skills and resources really, but if somebody's listening and does, here's an idea. What if there's a website that could aggregate a lot of this information that we're turning up in the on our research, and and then just put a simple web address on these billboards, and if people see it as something they can remember, and it drives them to the website and they see the information. I don't know. It's just a brainstorm, but I do love the billboards. I saw that the other day, Travis, and I thought that was genius. I loved that.
The reason why it's not in the mainstream is because they don't even want people looking into it or questioning it in the slightest. Because if they do, they're going to realize the truth. So my challenge, I'll wrap it up so other people can talk, but my challenge to everybody is you don't have to investigate, but there's other ways we could contribute and help get this into the mainstream.
Thank you for your creativity and help.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for everything you're doing.
And go check that out, you guys. Go to Travis's go to his profile and go to his media and scroll down. He's got the pictures of the billboards. It's really cool. I don't know who is next, Ryan, so I'm just going to make a call. Let's go to Timmy G. We'll go to you next.
Hey guys, thanks for letting me get a mic. I've been really trying to navigate transferring some of the stuff I get from you guys on here, and also some of the research I do myself onto Instagram and other things, because as a person mentioned, this is only a small segment of the social media world at large, and a lot of times we just get in echo chambers where we're kind of acting like we're bringing on new information, but we're telling people, we're preaching to the choir in some cases. I get a lot of new info though too. I posted a write-up I did on Judeo-Christianity and the falsity of it. I would urge everybody to read it. I don't monetize my account in any shape or form, so I'm not looking for fucking clicks or anything, just trying to arm people with that to be able to get in an intelligent conversation. Also would just urge people, don't get in Bible verse discussions. Just get into a political discussion. Tell them it's irrelevant to the discussion, and right then and there, because otherwise people will try to mutate it emotion. But please look at the post I did in the pill, repost it, read it. I put a link to Adobe where I did the article. You can share it with family and friends. The evangelican takeover is getting worse. I have one of my business partners is related to kind of the front man for a big Zionist Judeo-Christian place based in Manchester. And they're beginning to have him do crisis management, flying back and forth from the UK to here every single week. And when you start digging through a lot of the websites, you see that all it is to bring people closer to Judaism. It's not to bring them closer to Israel too. The other thing I would just give everyone the advice on Instagram, figure out ways to do it without saying the J word. You could say Zionist and globalist and let people kind of infer, and you won't be able to get reported. at all for it. But you can also point to the fact that it's a supremacy and they're racist against black people, even though they created the Anti-Defamation League. Or if they're complaining about Islamophobia, getting into schools and things like that, why are they financing it? Why are they letting it go through their NGOs and go through institutions like Northwestern University in Chicago that they control? They're literally controlling the havoc and start getting people focused on the fact they're trying to create a race war so that we don't see what they're really up to. Ian, Ryan, thank you for having a space and just getting enough people here that our voices get heard. I appreciate the megaphone, and I'll shut up.
Thanks, Timmy. Great input. Everybody, just housekeeping. Please retweet the space if you haven't. If you haven't interacted with the tweets up in the nest, go like them, retweet them, comment on them, get them circulating, get them boosted. That's just some housekeeping. Let's go to Bobby. You're next.
Oh, hey guys, thanks for letting me speak. I just got a couple questions. I'm not going to take too much of your time. Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Sam Ryan, I just wanted to ask, are you guys in touch with Candace? That's one question. The second question is, do y'all know when she's going to be back on air, on her podcast? And the third question is, do y'all know if she has adequate security?
I don't comment on people that I communicate with offline, really. I have DM'd with Candace in the past, but I'll just leave that there. I've heard that she's going to be back the 27th. I don't have any other special knowledge besides that. She's coming back the 27th. Okay. And I don't know what her security is like, but I imagine maybe she does. I know she talked about sending out a packet of information to several people, like a dead man switch. She talked about that a couple weeks ago. I mentioned a couple people that she sent that to. But other than that, I don't have any special knowledge of Candace's whereabouts or what she's doing.
Yeah, just make sure, protect her, man. She's on the right track. That's all I can say. All right, thank you. I'm going to step down.
Yep, thank you. All right, let's go to Taj. You're next.
All right. Hey guys, I just wanted to quickly say thank you for all the work that you guys are doing, and just encourage you to be just both physically strong, mentally strong, and spiritually strong. I see Ryan work out a lot as he pursues this investigation, and a lot of times your mind can get really tired because your body's not able to handle the immense pressure that goes with researching and just trying to figure out the truth. So I encourage you to be strong physically, whatever you do nutritiously, make sure that's there. And most importantly, be strong spiritually, because there's so much aside from what we just see in the natural that we also need to be prepared. And then going specifically to the investigation, I think one of the things that's similar to the Mike McCoy is one of the security guards. Of course, he's been connected to the palm pistol and Cutler, but just his reaction time for being former military is really slow. It takes him somewhere between the neighborhood of about 60 to 90 seconds to get back over the table, which seems very odd for someone who has prior military experience, quick reflexes, etc. It just seems to be a very odd, delayed reaction. So there's a lot. I've seen that reposted and people engage, and they finally got a name and prior history and knowledge. So one of the key things there is, I think that's just been interesting and similar to the Mike McCoy in terms of the
Mikey McCoy,
odd reaction.
Charlie's
so just
chief
wanted
of
to point that
staff
out
and friend.
Encourage you guys to
spent
be
the whole
spiritually
morning
strong.
beautifully.
They're doing something similar to Candace, where they try to project schizophrenia, try to project these things onto you, but just make sure you're strong in all aspects, because the mind does get tired and the body needs to be there to pick it up, and then the spiritual side needs to be there too. So thank you.
And never forget which group of people excels in schizophrenia, for what it's worth. Sam, I know you talked about that.
There he is, Ian Malcolm, coming in like a hurricane.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Go ahead, Ian. Let's just go to Ian. You're in here. Let's hear if you have any other comments. Don't leave us. Don't leave us.
No, look. The and been listening in and loving the conversation, and as always, love Ryan for holding these spaces and everything he does, and Sam, the work that you've been doing on this subject has been bar none, right? It's been at the top of the top, and the thing that I would say, we had a couple speakers previously that were discussing this idea of it's Netanyahu and his regime and all these other things. I just put into the Purple Pill a poll that I like to frequently point to, which basically just suggests that the 2/3 of the people over in that country not only supported the removal of the Palestinians, that was actually 80 to 95%, depending on what study you look at, but over 2/3 of them supported the literal ethnic cleansing of everyone, not just the terrorists, but the men, the women, the children, etc. And I say that because I think what we're probably going to see, and I know that this is kind of tangentially related because it's talking about the group of people that might have been behind this assassination, all the other things that might have played into that, but I think what we're going to see in the coming months is essentially a pivot where, as this conversation is forced into the spotlight because of people like those in this room, what I believe they're going to do is to try and make this an Israel issue, a Netanyahu issue. And the reality is that the United States has been obviously subverted by the interests of the same group of people. And so it's not just that person. And I think they're going to try and demonize, as they should, Netanyahu. But at the end of the day, this is a much larger issue. We can't allow, as this again kind of reaches the sunlight and finally people that are in the normal audience start having to face these conversations, we can't allow this to be scapegoated on that one person, as awful and terrible as he is. Because, as we're discussing in this space, again, it's not just the suffering of the Palestinians. It's not just the continued conflict that we've seen over literally 20 plus years in the Middle East that's been largely at the hands of this, let's just say, this unified force. But it's prospectively even the people subverting the politicians, firing the bullets inside our country, etc. This is a much bigger issue. We can't allow it to just get, again, siloed into that one person or that one political regime. And so I'd be careful for anybody that goes down that intellectual path, because, again, I do think it just kind of, it handcuffs us in how much we can discuss. And while it is really nice to win specific points with Netanyahu, with the masses, but we can't, we can't take our nose in spite of our face. I'll kind of pervert that traditional little slogan. But again, you guys are absolutely knocking this one out of the park. And I know there's some people that might be in the listener panel that might be thinking to themselves, another space on Charlie Kirk. But, this is going to be a pivotal moment, Sam, in the future of the American history books. And I think, unfortunately, it will be a defining moment for the nation. Is it going to slip into further tyranny? We saw Donald Trump just earlier today shrug off the pardoning of CZ, the individual from Binance. He shot down this reporter saying, that's fake news, you're fake news, even as she just retorted to him, hey, you pardoned a guy who admit to his own crimes. And so we're living in an era where the people at the highest level are just literally shrugging off truth. They are laughing in the face of reality. They are crafting it as they wish, and then they're perverting the media to try and propagate the lies. And so we've got to put an end to that, an end to the subversion. And if we do, it'll be a beautiful tomorrow. If we don't, I fear that, very similar to the JFK story, which, Sam, you know better than almost anybody on this entire application, the United States slipped for a long time into a very dark state because people allowed what may have at the time, there may have been those that certainly had reservations around the official story. Certainly RFK did. And unfortunately, that was just steamrolled by this machine that I think has essentially perpetuated that same mission at this point for decades. And so, we've got to keep this top of mind. We have to do this, if not for Charlie, for the American spirit that he certainly fought for. And there are going to be people that will try and suppress the one thing that Charlie Kirk, I think, above anything and everything else stood for, which is the freedom of speech, which we're seeing eroded very, very, very quickly. So just lots of love, Sam, to you, to Ryan, to everybody that's up here, and all those that are fighting for freedom, whatever position it is that you're taking on it.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you, man. Very well said. Go ahead and hang around. Looks like you're co-hosting. Let's go to Naga. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's an influencer on YouTube who claims to have a source that leaked the Discord logs of Lance and Tyler, and he created a YouTube video. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. Sorry, I got a call. He claims to have a source from a friend of theirs who gave them the Discord chat logs of them, and he created this video to narrativize why they would have done this, why Tyler would have killed Charlie Kirk. So I put that on my profile if anybody's interested in getting into that.
Thanks, Naga. That's interesting. I'll have a look at that. Go ahead, Ivy.
Oh, hi there. Hi. I just want to say thank you to everybody and to all the hosts for setting up this space. You're doing great work. Thank you. And basically, I'd just like to say that to me, it's apparent that this is all about establishing Greater Israel before the American youth enter political or are old enough to enter political life and make a real difference. So no matter what, obviously no matter what happens in the future, if once Greater Israel is established, nobody will be able to do a damn thing about it, but at the same time, I think it shows that Israel is afraid, Netanyahu is afraid, and that's why they're pushing for this, and that's why he's pushing for this. Some people say, oh, well, he's just trying to avoid jail. That's part of it, but I think what we're seeing is a kind of panicked push to establish Greater Israel before the conversation.
Who's making all that noise?
Not me.
Weird. Go ahead, Ivy. Sorry.
I booted him.
Oh, okay. Looks like we lost Ivy too. Okay, let's go back to Timmy. He's got his hand up.
Sam, I can go for about another 15 minutes, brother.
Sorry to double dip. I just wanted to piggyback off of Ian's comments. We cannot let go of the Epstein files or Charlie Kirk's assassination. I did analysis on just the Chicagoland area. I was in the mortgage-backed securities industry from the hedge fund side, so I dealt with a lot of these families directly. Over 60% of the real estate market, the entire real estate market, is owned by, I'm going to just say, Zionist-related entities, either the families, the endowments, the institutions, or the private equity funds. I can verify it with it. So that is very scary, in addition to the debt markets. But also, Bill Ackman was part of the great financial crisis. So I'm going to give you just a quick story. Rahm Emanuel's father was an Ergon from the land of the ill. He was part of the Clinton administration with Bill Daley, who was Mayor Daley's brother. He went on to become the vice chairman of JP Morgan. But they also went into the Clinton administration and loosened lending standards to create the mortgage-backed securities crisis. Penny Pritzker blew up Superior Bank creating that. She then went on to Harvard, took on $600 million of losses strategically.
Bill Ackman, she related to the Pritzkers up in Chicago, including the trans.
Yes,
sister.
That's exactly who she is. Yep. That's exactly who she was. She was into so they went from that. They created, during the Obama administration, the Dodd-Frank bill, which was a strategic way to close down all community banks, but it also created a buyer's club of just select hedge funds that got to buy all these mortgage-backed securities before they caught that Jeffrey Epstein and other people were laundering money from it. So then you fast forward, she was a part of the Rebuild Ukraine on the Biden thing. And Tom Pritzker, whose name just came up again, I don't know why it never did, he was like the top name on the Epstein list. Back in 1991, his family tried to overthrow the Hungarian government, which was one of the super veto votes that has saved Europe before. This is a lot bigger of a deal than Charlie Kirk. Once these things actually come to fruition and people see, I'm going to quote Jeffrey Epstein.
Alright, I'm gonna close this out, and We're gonna go to a live space right now. Let's see, does my video come up when I do this? We're gonna go to a live space right now that Keith is holding and try to. No, my video doesn't come up for some reason. All right, jump into a live space and see if it'll work. If not, we'll close down the stream. Sometimes
Eastern European Jews. They're in control of it, and that's going to be the B'nai B'rith, the sons of the covenant, versus the Christians, which is all of the Eastern Roman Empire. So that's pretty much been the war that we're seeing the last few generations. And the level of sophistication that we're up against is so insane. Like, they're planning this shit generations in advance. So anything that we're seeing, it's like they're literally planning generations in advance. They're the most sophisticated intelligence group and like transnational terrorist group in the entire world that we're up against, that owns every single politician, owns every single infrastructure in America, and greater part the entire world. Like they set up all of Russia after they corrupted it with communism. They set up China. They own the entire world.
Yep, it's not gonna work. Alright, well, let's see. I don't think it'll do it if I refresh the page. Let me try. For some reason, when I'm streaming and I'm streaming from the browser, it like kicks me out of the space on live spaces all the time.
That have super intelligence.
They say DARPA is like 40 years ahead of us.
No, like they literally, I'm not joking. They have like, they have literally 1,000 IQ. Like, they're a different species, and their entire goal is like, it's literally to corrupt America and Christians, which is like a chicken colony to these people. And they just want us to disobey. They want us to even think that we stand a chance, so that they can set up even more shit. Like, we have never before. I'm going through all the history.
Alright, yeah, it's gonna keep booting me. I've already been streaming for 2 hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. If y'all will hear me out for a second, this is our project, the Ethnic American Project. It's to take back our American identity. Our forefathers built this country for a certain group of people. A nation is a people. It's not a landmass. And in these naturalization acts right here, this held as legal precedent in the United States all the way through 1923. 1923, the high caste Hindus tried to get citizenship in America, and the Supreme Court told them to, that they can't, because they're not free white persons of good character. And then the Loose Seller Act. Seller was a Jew, Emmanuel Seller. He got in 1943, I believe, that he got 100 Filipinos and 100 something somehow passed, and nobody really cared because it was like 100 people. And then the real bad thing happened in 1965 with the Hart-Celler Act, and that's when America became flooded. And they promised that, it never changed the demographics of America, but look at our society back back then it was 90% white, and we had a high trust society, and now we are about 58% is what they say. I think it's lower than that, but and you see all the beatings and stabbings and everything that's happening just every day. I don't know if y'all see the same thing on your feed that I see on my feed, but if we just go through, I mean, it's just constant. It's just constant, one thing after another. Look, this is, I mean, everything just crazy. Let's see. These, look here. They ain't getting their food stamps, so they're raiding. You know, this is, they're not like us. If you believe that they're like us, do me a favor, okay? And go and walk around Section 8 housing, okay? At like 10 o'clock, midnight. Just go out there and walk around and see if you feel safe out there in an all black neighborhood. I know I grew up in them. So, yeah, go ahead and try that if you think that everybody's just all the same and multiculturalism works. Now, I say that and say I do not hate them, okay? I want them to be for their people. I just want to be for my people as well, okay? I just want to be able to look out for ethnic Americans, and just the same way that they have their civil rights, I want my civil rights, right? And that we can organize and do things for us, have our own communities and stuff like that. And yeah, we can work together and chop it up or whatever, but we need to be separate, okay? That's how I feel about it. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And if you want to follow me on X, this is my profile right here. Just a little account. We have shows that we do every single weekday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. Here's the leader of that. You can follow this guy. He's the one that hosts the spaces, and it's for ethnic Americans, like a news kind of program, and we talk about issues that are concerning our people. So there we go. Y'all have a good day. I appreciate you joining me. Like and subscribe.